podcast, we will interview alumni and supporters from far and wide, and they will share some insights from their school days and involvement with St George's School. Welcome, listeners. Today you are in for a real treat, the Centenary St George's podcast, and with us today is Lucy Trott. Welcome, Lucy.
Thank you.
Lucy was a St George's Old Girl from 1982 to 1985. She was head prefect in 1985. She is also a past St George's parent of the lovely Bridget and Sophie, a past St George's Committee board member for many years, and she is the current Director of International Students at Wanganui Collegiate School. Welcome, Lucy.
Thank you for having me.
And with us today are two fabulous Year 8 students. So we have Charlotte and Mckenzie. Welcome, girls.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'm going to hand over to the girls to ask Lucy some questions for this wonderful interview. And then, Lucy, I invite you to think about any story or vignette you'd like to share with us of the podcast. So thank you, girls.
What years were you at St George's and what brought you here?
So I was at St George's for 4 years, from 1982 to 1985. And the reason I went to St George's was because I used to live on a farm out of Wanganui, and the school I currently had gone to was of very small numbers. And St George's had a temporary headmaster come to look after the school, a man called Mr Dashfield from the Wairarapa. He'd come from St Matthew's, and he had been the headmaster to my sister at St Matthew's, and he had seen my name on the waiting list. And he said to my parents, no time to waste, let's get Lucy in straight away. So that's why I started in 1982, not when I was supposed to a few years later, but there you go. Yeah.
Can you describe a typical day during your time at school?
We were at the old campus in Grey Street, and so we had to walk. Our parents could drop us off at the gate, and we had to walk along the driveway and then unpack our bags into old lockers and get ready for class. And our classes we had a home class, and I think that's what you guys still do now. And then we'd go off to our different classes, and then we would have house meetings some days. Some days we would have chapel in the old hall. We'd have chapel singing practice and sports in the afternoon. So pretty similar to what you have today, but it was just in a different campus, in a different campus and different school. And so, yeah, it was pretty similar to what you guys do.
Who were the teachers or staff who had the biggest impact on you and why?
Probably the biggest person who had the most impact on my schooling at St George's was the headmaster, Mr Alan Cooper. He was always really approachable. He kind of just gave you a sense that you had self-worth and he believed in you, and with that belief you could go anywhere. He was also really easy to talk to, and he always had time for you. So as a young person, that was really special to know that was there. But there was also a lovely teacher in my Form 2 year, so your Year 8, a lady called Miss Cowper she was, and she had some time overseas in South Africa and Africa, and she had the most amazing stories that she used to tell us about the Zulus and things. So yeah, she kind of was also my hockey coach, and so she kind of had a huge impact too.
What traditions or events do you remember most fondly?
I think it was when the parents and the students all got together for like the chapel service or house drama or school production, so that everyone was there. And we were quite a large number of students at the school, so when all the parents were there, it was lovely, a nice big affair that we had.
Were there any challenges you faced during your time, and how did the school support you?
Like any student going through those years, in year 7 and 8, you have friendship groups, and they change because we all change and we all grow. And I remember having some moments with friendship groups, and that the headmaster, Mr Cooper, was really good at putting things into perspective and giving me tools to work through different activities or different things that went on.
Are you still in touch with any classmates, families or staff?
Yes, I am. A few of the old girls and boys, especially an old boy a man called Mark Lithgow, who now lives here in Wanganui. And we both had children at roughly the same time. So we keep in touch because my youngest and his oldest went through Wanganui Collegiate together. So yeah, we've kept in touch. And staff, yes, because around Wanganui Collegiate and around Wanganui they still live, so I still make contact.
Do you have a favourite memory that captures the spirit of the school?
Yeah, I remember our sporting events, like I think it might have been athletics, and we used to have a wonderful big field in front of the old St. George's, and we would have our families there supporting us, and we were all in houses and we all shouted for each other, and it was just that kind of connection and being together. Yeah.
What different leadership roles did the school have?
Back when I was there, they had head of houses, and then they had sports captains, and then they used to have a head boy and a head girl, and then a head prefect. So those were the kind of the roles that were available to students that they could apply for.
How do you think the school has changed over the years, and what has stayed the same?
You may have moved locations a couple of times since I was at St. George's, but I think the values and the morals and the traditions and that St. George's way has definitely stayed the same, and I think that's not ever changed since I've been there and left, but I know that was still there when my children went through as well, so I think they're really important to keep hold of.
What values or lessons from school has stayed with you over the years?
St. George's gave me the confidence. It gave me the confidence to go out and speak publicly, because that was part of a job that as a role as head prefect that you had to do. I had to lead chapel services and prayers. So it gave me that confidence. It gave me independence because I had to get on and do it myself. But it also gave me a sense of belonging. It was a home away from home because I did live a little bit away from school, so I spent a lot of time after school and before waiting for my parents to come and collect me. But it also, St. George's instilled in me kindness and thoughtfulness of others, not just yourself, to think about others. And I think those kind of really important values have taught me. Thank you to St. George's. Yeah.
What would you love to see the school carry forward in its next centenary?
Oh, I hope they keep the little things, the little traditions, the little exciting bits that we were able to do when we were at St. George's. So the special chapel services, the leavers dinners, and those celebrations when you're year 8 and you have those kind of farewells. Productions, the house, the drama, the music, all those kind of wonderful things that you're all part of, and that you all support each other through that. So those are the kind of things that I hope carry on.
If you could relive one moment from your school days, what would it be? Now,
this sounds really odd, and I'm sure people are going to go, why was that so special? But my parents never really came to prize givings, because I used to say, don't bother coming because I won't win a prize. So, and they also lived away out of town. So it was a big journey for them to travel half an hour from the Paraparas into Wanganui. But this particular year, in my year 7, I had said to my mum and dad, don't come, there's no point, don't come to prize giving, it will be boring for you. But little did I know that Mr. Cooper had rang my parents and said that they had to come, but they never told me. And I now look back and I thank Mr. Cooper very, very much for inviting them along, because that prize giving was probably the most special for me. Because as you all do, you all go, I think that person's going to be that role. I think that person's going to be that role. And we had thought that, and we had all said that. We thought that Mark Lithgow was going to be our head of school, our head prefect for the year, my last year. And so it came to my parents and myself as a huge surprise to be named head of school in my last year. And that is probably the most special, because both my parents were there to be able to hear the news and see their daughter in shell shock, I think. A little bit scared, a little bit nervous, but super excited for what was lying ahead of me.
Thank you so much, Lucy. And as you were reflecting on that wee story, I was thinking about Mckenzie last year being named as head girl, and the absolute look of surprise for you in knowing that your family were there. And Charlotte's our head of Hawara in peer mediation. And so both these girls understand that excitement of being chosen to serve in these really important roles for our school. So thank you.
Yeah, they are important, and I think they lead you onto in your next journey, in your next schooling. Those jobs will help you pave that way. So yeah, it was, I mean, we're scary, excited, nervous, all those emotions run through you when you're sitting there waiting for that announcement. And when you hear it, you go, did I mishear it? Did I really hear my name? And then just kind of taking a moment and enjoying it. And do enjoy it while you have it.
So Lucy, do you have any lovely little stories or vignettes that you might like to share with us about your time at St George's, and also very long association with the school, ensuring it's sustained?
Yes, stories. There are so many stories and so many fun moments that we had with our friendship groups, and enjoying swimming sports, because I love to swim, and so the pool being on site and that atmosphere, the athletics track out the front. But it was also just the house, being in a house that had same kind of values and like-minded people, wanting the best, to do our very best for our house and then for our school. So there's lots of funny little things that used to go along the way, but not walking on the quad, and if you got into trouble, having to stand at the quad with your hands behind your back and your head down, because that was the punishments back in those days. We didn't have, and writing lines if you were really naughty. But the corridors were a place of respect for our older students. So when I was first started, when a senior walked down the corridors, we would stand to one side to let them walk, or a staff member or a teacher. So I think they installed really good values, and I hope that my own children have kept that going, and I also tried to continue that while they were at St George's, that they had that showed respect and understanding to others. I think those kind of things that are just kind of come and you hope to stay with the school. And yes, I do have a long association with the school, not only an old girl, but I married an old boy of the school. And then of course my two daughters, our two daughters went through, and now at Wanganui Collegiate, I still am really lucky enough to still have a little part of St George's when I see you walk the driveway and see you using the classes, and having that, two schools on one campus. It's lovely. So I still feel like I'm still kind of part of St George's in a little way.
Nice. That's so nice. And listeners, Lucy was integral in helping fundraise for the turf, which is now fully used by the entire school, and also just our transition to this campus and the growth that you have witnessed in your time since you were on the committee for many years. It's credit to you and a group of others who really work so tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure St George's continues to thrive to this day. So girls, I wondered if I put you in the hot seat and asked you about, how do you feel about houses at St George's? So Lucy shared with you what it used to be like. What do you feel the houses are like at St George's?
They're still really passionate for the house, but they always put their house forward, to do competitions and stuff, and they try their hardest as much as they can. Yeah. I feel like the house leaders are always pushing the house forward to improve and just keep trying. And I know our house leaders this year, they're always very passionate about the house. They always want to make sure everyone does their hardest. With house music coming up, it's a very busy time for them, I understand. And they're always really just uplifted and spirited for everyone. So yeah.
It was funny when I walked in, first thing I asked was what houses you were in, and we both high-fived when we found out we're in the same house. But yeah, it is, you're right, it is, I think everyone's passionate, and everyone talks about, our house was best and we did this. And I think I've still got all the records of where houses went in my years of St George's, because that was one of the, those houses are quite a major part of a school life.
So Lucy, in 2027 we have the centenary for St George's. What are some of your hopes and dreams for the celebrations that we're going to have? How do you want to connect with people? What would you like to see and feel in that year?
I think it will be about reconnecting with previous students and staff of the years that I was there, but also to be involved with the students that are currently at St George's as well, and also look at the staff that have been before us and that are currently there, so that we can all relay and share those stories that we are so fond of. St George's, it was a huge part of my life, and it really did shape the person I am today. And I know people say that quite lightly, but I truly believe if I hadn't have gone to St George's, I probably wouldn't be where I am sitting at this very moment. So yeah, and I think my parents probably would say that St George's did shape who I was, for the better. And so yeah, I hope there will be a lot of connecting, a lot of stories to be told, a lot of maybe something special that we can provide or give to St George's as leavers or people who have been through that school, so that we can put our little mark on this special occasion that's coming up.
How lovely. A sense of belonging for St George's, always and forever.
Yeah.
So look, thank you so much, Lucy, for your time today, and wonderful questions from Mckenzie and Charlotte. Thank you so much, girls. And I know, listeners, there will be more details being shared over the next few weeks of the centenary, and look forward to welcoming you to the centenary events, Lucy.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.